I am offering these programs on a monthly basis because there are lots of fabulous folks in our industry, and I don't do everything. Especially, I'm very excited about this because this is way outside of my zone. And I also selfishly learn every time
Yeah.
I'm on one of Cooper's programs. So, but the big idea is not everyone knows, and they need to know about all of the resources that we have available to us. So that's why I host these programs. We need to be supporting one another. I also think there's a ton of free value out there that people should be taking advantage of too. So, one of the things I like to do is help folks get resourceful and go out and get what they need to be successful. So, that is why we are here doing this. Very, very quick and dirty on me. I am a career leadership coach. Primarily support lawyers and other ambitious professionals. I practiced for just a couple of years, and then I've been working in law career development for a decade now. Um, I used to be in San Diego, now I'm in Kansas City, and that makes this even more special because I don't have a lot of Kansas City folks here. Cooper's in Kansas City, which is so funny because we were introduced by Miller Leonard, who is not in Kansas City but has Kansas City ties.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. So we're gonna have to do a Kansas City circuit or event or something soon, guys, because there are
Oh,
some other folks, great folks here too. So that's very quick on me. I am trying to provide more free resources out there to everybody. I also, FYI, am providing some free coaching sessions, 30 free sessions in 30 days over the next month and a half or so. So if that's of any interest to you, more people coming in, awesome. Welcome, welcome. But I was just saying, I'm providing some free coaching sessions. If that's of interest to you, you'll be hearing from me soon enough. Okay, enough about me. I'm done, I promise. So I just explained Cooper and I know each other from an introduction. We love personal introductions, personal referrals. And I'm going to let him, though, do more of the intro. And we're going to be super casual today, folks. If you have questions, please pop them in the chat or just come off mute. Um, Feel free to speak throughout. At the end, we'll probably have time for questions as well, but let's have an interactive conversation. He's going to be giving us technical information too, but don't worry too much. Take notes if you want, fine. Force of habit, I know, but we're also going to follow up with an awesome framework and document for you. So stay tuned for that. All right, Cooper, who are you? Why are you here? Tell us.
yeah. So my name's Cooper Saunders, and I help law firms grow with digital marketing. I've written a book called Grow Your Law Firm, and I've kind of fallen into being very good at growing law firms. Half of my family are lawyers, so I kind of understand how they operate and what they're looking for. And I found with lawyers, they get, I'm trying to find the right word, I guess, screwed over more than any other industry. It seems like, in terms of every meeting I go to, it's, hey, I've spent X amount on marketing and I got nothing in return. And so, partnering with people like you, Miller, all these resources that I have, it's been very helpful to take it and really be able to put out a framework. Hey, this is what works when growing law firms. It's kind of like the essentialism side of things. Focus on what works and then throw out every other form of marketing, because there is a lot of things. It's easy to get overwhelmed. And so I try to make it simple. I try to say, hey, this is the only thing you need to focus on. Big on relationships. And it's easy to keep clients whenever you hand me $1 and I hand you 10 back. So that's kind of my goal. And with lawyers is, if I can provide more value to you than I'm taking, then it's very easy to keep clients. So in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Okay, here's my big question right up front. What makes you different? Because
Yeah.
I know your evangelists out there who are super big fans of yours, and there are a couple specific things they're always saying, he's the only one doing this.
Yeah.
So tell everybody what makes you different, especially like you said, in this sea of digital marketers
Yeah.
and cold outreach where we're all like, leave me alone. I got,
Yeah.
the last guy didn't help and stole
Yeah.
my money, right? What makes you different?
So I'm big on data. So I'm able to look at previous results that we've done and figure out, okay, this is going to be the best thing for you to do. And I'm also big on understanding the ROI behind it. I'm not big on clicks. I'm not big on, hey, calls. I like to know what is the ROI that you got from me. Then my company's also works on month to month. So if we're not doing a good job, get rid of us. So kind of our team knows that if we're not doing a good job, the client will leave. And so those are kind of the big things. And also I'm big on relationships. I kind of like to know what the law firm's goals are, what they're looking to achieve. But really, the biggest thing that people love the most about me is the data I can provide and the estimates and ROI based on previous case studies.
Any chance you brought an example with you?
Let's see. I know I can attach it to, I can send, because you're going to give this
Yeah,
away.
or send it. Yeah,
I can attach 3 or 4 to the back of them.
great.
Just whenever you send it out, you can have that as well.
Let's do that because I think, especially for lawyers, we're skeptical.
Oh yeah.
So you could
Yeah.
tell me shit all day long, and I'm like, yeah, prove it.
Yeah.
And B, some of us are visual learners,
Yeah.
and it's just really nice to see what the heck you're talking about. Again, this is for most of us, this is not our area. Marketing is huge for me too, and I don't understand a lot of this stuff, especially digital marketing.
Yeah.
So that would be awesome if we could follow up and send that out.
And
Why don't you share,
yeah.
just verbally though, for the sake of this program, why don't you share one example that's top of mind for you? And it doesn't have to be, if you have specific numbers in mind, cool. But if you don't, that's okay too. But just an example of kind of walking a client from point A to point B, what that looked like, and the relationship, ongoing relationship, the nature of it. Like, do folks have to email you every day, updates, or what are you handling for them? And then what's that outcome look like?
I think the first thing that I kind of meet with lawyers about is the importance of, like kind of the getting started in the onboarding email and meeting is the importance of kind of stepping back and understanding the difference of, are you thinking like a lawyer or a business person looking to grow your law firm, right? Because I feel like it's kind of hard. There are lawyers that are business minded, and then there are lawyers that are lawyer minded. And so, kind of stepping back, say, hey, I can get you calls, I can get you form submissions, but you'll still have to be able to close those people. You'll still have to be able to bring them on, service them. And so, the biggest problem I have, and I guess not problem, but with digital marketers, most lawyers have got nothing from digital marketers. Well, when I come in, they're like, hey, you're generating too many phone calls. And it's a great problem to have, but understanding, okay, sales first how to close people, but that then being able to service them and make sure that they're doing a great job. So that's kind of the first thing that I kind of hit on of, okay, this is how many calls you're expected to get. And then we kind of go through the niche, right? So with digital marketing and online marketing, if you're just throwing ads out there, you don't really have any focus, you haven't niched down what city you want to operate in, what law area you want to practice in, it's very hard to stand out. If you're the 147th criminal defense attorney in Denver, for example, but you're 1 out of 4 that do DUI, for example, and promoting that's going to give you a lot better returns. So I think that the first thing is in understanding how you stand out from your competition is another huge thing. I find that I've got a tool called the 1-Star Improvement Plan. And what we do is we look at all your competitors, what they're doing, what are all your competitors doing to get 1-star reviews. And I find the most thing that consumers complain about with law firms is that they're rude. They kind of act above and kind of like almighty, which you guys are very important to society. But I find that if I say, hey, can you go out of your way for that customer touch, getting to know them, it's really done amazing for a law firm. So if I generate a call, can you can you be happy that they call, right? And so in using that on your website, being really open and friendly, kind of showing them you are different from other law firms, has helped a lot. So that is kind of the first step in understanding how you're going to set yourself apart and what mentality you need to grow your law firm.
Yeah, this is really important. I was actually thinking about this kind of concept leading with kindness today myself. My kid just got these new shoes and he can't tie the laces. He's in second grade. We just taught him how to tie the shoes. He's very excited. He insisted on getting shoes he can tie. But these laces, they're Adidas, and these laces are like round and kind of slick. So I
Yeah.
could tie them, but for his,
Yeah,
little
they're very
hands,
slick.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
know it's
they
one
were,
about.
yeah, they were hard to tie. And so we bring them home, and my husband last night says, "Oh, I have a special way to tie those. I'll show them tomorrow." I says, "Okay, great." This morning I told my son, I said, "Go take those to your dad and ask him to help you do them." Well, we had bought these other laces um, before I knew that there was a special way to tie them. So
Of
he
course.
thought that's what I wanted. He put the other laces in, and the kid goes to school with the wrong laces and not knowing how to tie a shoe. So I this morning when I came home, I was thinking about it. My in the past, I would have gone to my husband and been like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
I said, I was thinking about this. Lead with kindness. Put yourself in his shoes. He must have been thinking that's what I wanted him to do, right?
Mm.
And so, anyways, I think at all times, those of us who are thinkers, which is all lawyers, we
Yes.
live a lot in our head. We're thinkers. And also, I'm a direct communicator. And I think a lot of lawyers are like that too. And
Mm.
that's part of the issue. If you're
Why beat
thrown
around
off,
the bush?
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't beat around the bush. We don't like
Yeah.
make time for niceties and shit. Time is money,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Time is money.
Exactly.
So come on, let's just get to the point. So
Yeah.
I love this point. It's so stupidly simple. And
Yes.
like sometimes I get this feedback about something that's elementary. I'm like, yep, and you
Yeah.
need elementary, my friend. We gotta
Yes.
go back to kindergarten sometimes. But anyways, I just really, really love that idea of starting with kindness. Okay. So what I'm hearing is you're educating folks on
Hmm.
how to think like a business, how to
Yes.
get in that business mindset, how to differentiate themselves. Your skill set's great, you can do the work, but in terms of marketing, we've got to convey that in a way that'll bring in leads. You're helping them do the math. We want the right number of leads for the number
Yes.
of right clients you're going to close each month. Um, what next though? So let's say that's kind of like the onboarding or getting
Of
started
course.
process. What does it look like over time? How long do you work with folks and are you constantly in touch? Is it
Yes.
like once a quarter? What does that look like?
Yeah. So after we get that preliminary down, kind of the understanding of, okay, this is kind of, because if I generate you calls but you don't close them, you're gonna say, hey, what kind of what's going on, right? So after that, we start to look at your online marketing presence, right? Your website, what your rankings are, right? With local SEO, people are going more to that local map pack. They want to see your reviews, all of that stuff, right? And so whenever we, take on a client, we optimize their website or build them a new website to, because your website at the end of the day has one job, and that's convert traffic into leads. And people forget that, right? And then the SEO side of me says, okay, yes, trafficking the leads, but also it needs to be built to rank well. So you can have both of those. And so I feel like when you go to a law firm's website, most of the time, they don't have it's not easy to contact them. It's not built to get them the traffic to turn into leads. So we kind of optimize the website to not only rank on the search engines, but transform traffic into leads. That is the main thing of your website, because we'll see websites built as like they're media companies, and that's just not the case. So they won't load quickly, or they look terrible on mobile. And so once we get that, the About Us page is the second most visited page on websites after the homepage, of course. And so what does that say about what us consumers are looking for when deciding to choose a law firm? They're looking to get to know you. They don't want to deal with a faceless corporation. People want to feel like, okay, when they call you, they want to feel like they've already met you. And so they were trying to figure out who you are, what do you stand for, how did you get into the business? And if you can show that on your website, you're going to be way ahead of your competition. Even a simple video, you pop up Zoom, hey, this is Cooper, this is my law firm. I got started because of this problem, and this is how I fixed the solution. There's a great book. Andrew Zimmer has introduced me, building a brand story, right? That's correct, right, Andrew? And I've been able to use that to build a lot of great stories for my clients. So that's kind of after we kind of go on the onboarding. The website is a huge building brands for you, is the next step in the process.
Okay, we've got a resource. Thank you,
Yeah, yeah,
Andrew. Always love resources. Yeah, I've heard this a lot too. The idea when I got started, I was focusing on testimonials, and people
yeah,
are like,
yes,
stories, use stories instead of
yeah,
testimonials, right? And that's what we really love to see, walking someone through, again, point A to point B, that journey that you have helped them along. And, a lot of my clients really hang on to words. I have some
yeah,
people who don't like the word marketing.
yeah,
So I said,
yeah.
fine, let's
We'll
call it
try
relationship.
digital marketing or SEO. That's even worse,
Yeah,
especially
like,
for lawyers. I
yes,
go,
people are very particular. So we called it relationship building, and her whole world, her
yeah,
whole eyes lit up. Oh, I'm fine with that. So,
yeah,
anyways, I just think this is interesting, this idea of focusing on a brand story as
yeah,
opposed to just testimonials or
yeah,
results, which is how we tend to talk about this. I think when we're hurried and rushing it, right? Or when we delegate this to someone else, I don't have time to deal with this.
yeah,
But the reality is, like you said, relationships matter, stories matter, and that's what sells.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Because we've
please.
learned too, people are trying to figure out what the process is going to look like. Who am I going to talk to? What's the first step, second step? How are you going to solve my problem? And if you can show them your process, it's a great way to do it. And video testimonials are huge as well. So
Well, and building trust. That's what I'm thinking
yeah,
about.
that's what
I
it's all about.
Yeah, because again, like, oh, if I actually see you doing it and I
Yeah,
understand what's going to happen, people are nervous to pay a lot of money for something when they don't
yeah.
understand it. This is also why we like referrals,
Yes.
right? So, any thoughts on referrals? Anything you do in that arena or to support folks?
You know, a couple months ago, of course, Miller was telling me about he got a massive case, so a huge case. And he was one out of three attorneys that were referred by this other lawyer in a different state. And the guy said, I chose you because your website, you had great reviews, your website loaded quickly, it kind of felt like you took more time. And so with digital marketing, you still need, when it comes to referrals, you'll still need to show you're the expert. Still going to have to show, because these days as well, people trust reviews more than personal recommendations these days. So, if someone refers me, say I need a new roof, and they say try ABC Roofing, they're amazing, I had a great time, and I go and look, and they've got 40 reviews and half of them are 1 star, I'm going to trust those reviews. So it's still important to have an amazing online presence, reviews for that referral business. In my opinion, and we've seen it work amazingly for our clients.
Okay, two thoughts are coming to mind. I'm
Yeah.
actually loving this, and I'm just totally sharing like all these family secrets over here. So I this is so good because sometimes my mother, don't tell my mom I said
Yeah.
this, she'll give me a referral. She'll tell me, oh, we use this.
Yes.
And just like you said, one good experience. Or maybe we have different ideas of what's good. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't want the deck built the same way she got her deck built. So that's really interesting because I totally agree with that. I still want to see the business
Mm-hmm.
reviews and make sure everything is legit. The other thought that's coming to mind though, and I thought I transitioned a lot of my marketing strategy a long time ago around this concept is yes, you're going to directly to the source and you're obviously speaking to prospective clients and leads. And if you're building out that referral business, you also want your website and everything looking legit for those folks too, right? Like if
Oh yeah.
you're talking to someone, you meet someone in the industry and you're trying to build that referral relationship and they go to your site and it looks super
Yeah.
janky, right? Then maybe they don't want for you business or that, just because I like you doesn't mean you do good work. I gotta have some support. Certainly do that before I make referrals. I make sure that my referral partners have some legit reviews that people have been saying, yes, pleasure to work with, and not just because they're my friends now. right? So very interesting to be thinking about. It's not just for those prospects and leads, but also for those referral partners. Super
Oh yeah.
strategic. Okay, good. So here's the big thing I want to hear about is the Google business profile.
Oh
Just
yeah.
some quick thoughts because I literally, in preparing for this program, I'm like, oh shit, I don't have a Google business profile.
Yeah.
I created one. I'm on the last step. But what do you see people doing in terms of mistakes with the
Yeah.
Google business profile or any quick tips?
Yeah, so the Google Business Profile was created because Google is seeing how many people were searching on mobile and then also based just on location, right? So you type in lawyer near me or lawyer Kansas City, and it was very tough to get the right information. Your websites were terrible back in the day, and the user experience was bad. And so Google said, okay, how do we fix this? And they came up with the local map pack and Google Business Profile. All the information is in one place. They can see reviews, photos, information, what services you provide. And so that's why it was created, was for the local searchers and to, you know, have a better user experience. So when you're setting up your Google Business Profile, the big errors we see is, first off, if they don't have one, that's huge because it's free. Might as well just make one. Then making sure their category is correctly selected, right? So we'll have criminal defense lawyers and their category is law firm. Okay, you want to make sure that it's the correct business category, and then posting on it once a week, adding photos of your firm. You know, if you think about Google, it's a referral service, right? So you've got law firm A, law firm B. Law firm A never posts, no reviews, but then you've got law firm B, it's claimed, right category, posts all the time, adding photos. It's going to refer law firm B because it wants people coming back, right? So it's making sure that you've added all your information, your phone number is correct, your website's correct, business description. There's just so many things that when you go into the Google Business Profile, just make sure everything is filled out and it corresponds with everything on your website in terms of information, as phone number, hours, all of that good stuff.
And
And
in terms of what services you provide, do you audit that for folks or kind of take that off their hands? You build it
yes,
out?
yes. So we'll post on there, we'll optimize it, you know, adding the correct descriptions, you know, fulfilling each service description, posting on it, all of that good stuff we take care of, replying to reviews, all that good stuff. Just another
Okay,
thing to take off.
amazing. Well, exactly. Take it off their plate. That's what I was curious about. If people are going to think,
Yeah,
oh gosh, now I've got to do this and I've got to add this stuff. But
yeah,
yeah, that's where you come into play, where it's not extra work on their end, it's a little investment. And over time, it's got to pay off. I mean,
yeah.
I'm guessing I didn't know about this.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm realizing I'm older than I think I am, but I didn't know about this. And there's a lot of folks out there who've been practicing law for a long time. I'm sure
Yeah.
people are just clueless.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things where the Google Business Profile is a part of a bigger umbrella of just local SEO, right? So you've got Google Business Profile, you've got your business citations, they're called NAP citations, you know, you such as like Yelp, Better Business Bureau. There's around 200 of them. So adding your business information on all of those, that's Google's fact checker, right? For blogs such as like the 10 best ways to bake a pie, Google's fact checker is backlinks. But for local SEO, Google's fact checker are these NAP citations, because the more directory you're saying that this is a law firm in this location, the more trust Google gives to your law firm. And then the third is the website and optimizing that for local searches.
Okay, so this is why I always am like, I need to hire you because I don't
Yeah.
understand what the hell you're talking about. And it's all this awesome technical information. I'm like, what? I've never heard that before. And I just think for lawyers and, folks, shit, doing kind of what I do too, it's too much for us to stay on top of all of it, right? It is literally an extra thing. And I think I'm really kind of speaking to the solos out there, people considering going out on their own. We love to think we can do it all up front early on, and we shouldn't outsource anything to save money. Like you're always
Yeah.
trying to pinch pennies when you're starting your own business. But the reality is, once things are picking up a little bit to grow, to scale,
Yeah.
if you really are serious about it, you have to outsource stuff like this. You're never going to be able to stay on top of it on your own. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah, and local SEO is by far the highest ROI service that we have for lawyers. So the amount invested versus the ROI that they get is phenomenal. So it's one of those things where it is an investment, and we're able to track, hey, this is how much business you've got from your Google business profile.
Okay, so that's what you're talking about when you say analytics, really assessing what's working. You do more of that, I imagine. If something's not working, you do less of it, that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah. So when we get into your Google Analytics, we can see from what source the traffic comes from. So if it's Google Ads, if it's organic search, if it's local search, we can get an idea of, okay, this is what's working really well. We're not really getting too much from this. Let's hit this more because you're getting a lot of calls from it. Now, from those calls or form submissions, are they transitioning into cases? Because it does no good if I'm generating you a bunch of calls, but they're all just tire kickers. So it is one of the things where every month we'll hop on a Zoom, we'll pull it up. Hey, what does this look like for you? Is it generating solid business or not? Because again, since we work month to month, if we're not generating business for you, again, I read a book. It's called The Science of Getting Rich when I was in high school, and it was always about adding to the economy of the world. And so if someone gives you $1 and you give them 10 back, that's the greatest job security in the world. So that's kind of my philosophy on the analytics.
Okay, I love this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm big with assessment. So
Mm-hmm.
constantly assessing what's working. We want to make sure to do more of that. And then also letting the things go. I think a lot of us too, as business owners, we just keep paying for stuff
Yeah.
that we've been
Yeah.
doing that maybe isn't working so much or we don't need so much. So really interesting um, perspective. Okay, um, let's talk a little bit about um, ads.
Yes.
If you can say a little bit about getting started, what if someone's never done anything with ads and they're concerned about that additional expense?
Google ads are great when set up correctly. So we'll have companies that have done them themselves. And they'll say, hey, I've done Google ads and they were terrible. Well, most of the time they're set up incorrectly. And Google's default setup is to get you to spend the most money, right? I mean, that's what they want. And so whenever Andrew's laughing because we talk about this all the time. They're set up for you to spend the most money. So the biggest errors that we see is they won't set up a landing page. They're not niched down. So like I was talking about and a little bit earlier is picking a niche. If you're a criminal defense attorney, don't make a Google Ads campaign for just every criminal defense case that you operate, right? Don't do DUI keywords all in the same campaign, traffic, criminal defense. You want to make a campaign for each one of the services you provide. You need to create a landing page for each one of those services, and the landing page needs to be built to convert, and including the building your story brand, like we talked about earlier, on that page as well. And so when you're looking at Google Ads, there's a right way to do it, there's a wrong way to do it. Google will take your money anyway. They'll say you're getting clicks, they'll say it, but when you set up correctly, you'll spend less per click, which means you'll get better cost per acquisition. And then also you'll get good leads. And so when you're looking at Google Ads, if they're not set up correctly, you're going to have a bad time.
Uh, this is also interesting. Again, going back to that idea of we have services that we're paying for that we don't really need. Same kind of thing with this, where I do this. I should speak first person, where I tend to just keep doing something because I think I'm supposed to be doing it, and I might
Yeah.
not be doing it well or doing it right. So the analytics, I think, are really important. And again, it seems like you've got to know how technically and constantly be monitoring this stuff in terms of performance. Um, okay, super, super interesting. Um, let's talk about offline marketing
Yeah.
and also, so just generally, but also this idea of becoming an expert and known for expertise. This has totally changed in the
Yeah.
digital era.
Yeah.
So what are your like three biggest tips in terms of offline marketing?
So For myself, I'm big on leverage. How can you do one thing and it profit you for forever, possibly, right? And so whenever you're looking at creating leverage, right? So my books I've written once and they do have done amazing for me ever since. So if you've got a law firm, can you create something once and use it forever, such as a webinar? You could write a book, an online book. It's never been easier to publish a book with Amazon, KDP. Creating something like that is going to help you out 1,000-fold. So that is one of the tips that I say is how can you create something that's gonna you can use and profit for a long time. Another thing is that people want to know and try to get an idea of, okay, are you involved in your community and can you sponsor different things that your target market goes to? That's going to be very helpful in terms of building that relationship, building yourself in the community. And so that's kind of another tip that I have. And going back kind of to what I talked about earlier is, has everyone in your law firm that deals with the customer taking a course on sales? I think that's kind of another big offline tip that I've really tried to hit on to see, because we had a personal injury law firm. They're ranking #1 for 75 keywords in a pretty large market. They were getting about 100 calls a month, and I was excited to meet with them, of course, because that's, for a personal injury law firm, that's probably the best scenario you could get. And so they're like, yeah, we're getting calls, but they're not transitioning into cases. So I was like, oh, this is weird. So I decided to kind of do an audit myself. We installed tracking numbers and I called the law firm myself. The first 2 rings, no one answered, and it said mailbox was full. So I couldn't even leave a message. And then the third time I called and the receptionist answered, and it was like it was like I was cold calling, or when someone just kind of brushing off, yeah, oh well, blah blah blah, like maybe the law firm, the lawyer can talk to you. And so I was like, well, that's the problem, right? And so if you've got someone like me generating calls and your receptionist is rude, you're rude, or you're not even answering the phone, and then point back at me and say, hey, we're not getting any business. It's so important that not only your intake is solid, but you can close that deal.
This is so huge. I'm
Yeah.
also thinking about my experiences. I've hired a lot of business mentors and coaches over the years. And one, I've been in a program for a while with her. And I mean, when I've made requests like, oh, this month, this is going on, I'm going to be gone and not using the services for a while. Can I put a pause on this? No problem. I mean, they go above and beyond to accommodate me, and I'm spending a lot of money. Like that makes sense. They
Yeah.
should. Um, I have another one that I spent a similar amount of money on, and I can't get a damn response from them. And they told me, "Oh, we're going to do this for you," and I cannot find these people, and it's pissing me off. And the lost opportunity with one of them, I've told several people about this company, and I say, you need to go hire so and so because they're incredible with their customer service. They will always be there for you. And this other one, that's not happening. They're not getting my referrals, right? So I definitely have experience with that. But gosh, that's such a no brainer. But it's like they're totally missing it. And we see this in law firms where folks can be kind of siloed. Maybe
Yeah.
they don't even know, the managing partner doesn't even know what's happening with the phones.
Yeah.
They have nothing to do with the phones, right?
Exactly.
Busy. Um,
They just know that they're not getting any cases. And
exactly. The dollars at the end of the day. So really important, especially when you have teams as opposed to a solo where someone, you've got that separation and you don't know exactly what's going on, for you to come in and do that diagnosis,
yeah.
right? And that point of disconnect. Um, I was also thinking about sales training. It's interesting to think about that coupled with what we were talking about earlier, kindness. And I'm just thinking of, we're in my industry where I was talking about emotional intelligence and
Yes.
that kind of stuff too. So I love the idea. I'm just thinking here right now, Cooper, some
Yeah.
collaboration, bringing it together though. I mean, you've got to be working on all of the things. So that being said, I'm curious if this feels overwhelming. which might happen when we send out this document to folks and they see all these different things that they could be
Yeah.
working on. If someone is like, oh shit, Cooper, FYI, I'm a lawyer and I'm busy and I'm already overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me there's all these things to do. Where's the place to get started? What do you think is the best place for them to focus?
I think the biggest thing is getting up a site, simple as that. Of course, that's kind of like the first step. It doesn't need to be, you know, a custom built WordPress site. It can be something as simple as Wix or Squarespace just to get started. But then also your Google business profile. Those are the two I'd start with. And as soon as you get that Google business profile set up, start generating reviews. You need as many reviews as possible. And you can ask colleagues, friends, family, it doesn't have to be people that have paid you for your services. Even if you give advice, ask for a review. I know that a lot of lawyers will say, someone will call me, we can't help them, but I give them a couple minutes of advice. They say thank you, and then I ask them for a review, and they give it a lot of the time. So that's one way. If someone calls your law firm, you're like, I can't really help you, or I won't charge you for that. Asking them for reviews kind of gives you something to, so your time's not for waste. So that'd be the first couple of things that I would do if I'm just starting out. Get a website up, but also your Google business profile. Start posting on it, start optimizing it, and get some good professional photos of yourself. That's another big thing.
Yeah, which is easy. I mean, if you really don't want to pay for something,
Yeah,
we've all got fancy
iPhone.
phones now. Yeah, at the very least. What are your thoughts about this? Just popped into mind because there's like an AI photo.
Yeah,
I wanted to see it before I said anything about it publicly, and mine looked really weird. And they're
yeah,
always like dropping pounds. I'm like, nope,
yeah,
not that skinny, never have been. Don't
yeah,
know why you're doing that to me.
yeah,
But what are your thoughts about AI? I mean, not just for images, but obviously you're in the business of writing copy
yeah.
and doing all this. I'm just
Yeah.
curious your take on AI right now.
So Google came out and they said they're cool with any content, no matter how it's generated. So AI content is fine with them. Now, where the kind of the money's always been has been able to perform keyword research, understand what to write about, and then format it correctly to rank. So there's a thing called natural language processing. So if you write your blog in the correct way, it's going to rank. And if you don't, it won't rank. And so formatting the blog, understanding what to write about, what keywords to put in there is the hard part. And so getting content has always been easy. You can outsource it to a lady and, you know, wherever and pay $5 per article. Well, that's not going to do anything if the SEO behind it isn't correctly formatted and set up. So that's my take with the AI is that, generating the content, fine, but if it's not the correct setup and keyword research, then it's not going to do you any good anyway.
So is what you're suggesting and I'm curious if you're doing this or you're seeing like something that I've been talking about with industry colleagues is using AI to generate drafts. And then we're going back
What?
through. So it's kind of like a really good a sophisticated assistant to get
Yeah.
that first draft, and then we're going back through.
Yeah.
Is that something you're doing and then optimizing with SEO?
Yes, exactly. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll we'll have a rough draft because also with law, AI is just 9 times out of 10 not right. You know what I mean? With like the
Hmm.
different specifics. So we've got our copywriter here was formerly a paralegal. So she knows a lot of the technicalities. They're like, yeah, that's not right. That's right. And so that's been very helpful for her to have something that can generate it and then she can then make it correct.
Okay, perfect. And I love hearing that. I'm curious if there's anything else you want to share about your staff. I mean, to me, like again, in
Yeah.
terms of trust, I would like to know
Yeah.
that you've got a paralegal on staff who knows what they're doing, right?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing for me is hiring people that know what they're doing, obviously. And so whenever I bring somebody on, we put them on like a 30-day, it's called not a probation, but kind of like a trial period to make sure they know what they're doing. So we'll give them a fake company, say, what would you do to rank them? What would you do? And then make them perform, right? And so 30 days isn't a massive amount of time to rank a company number one, but we should see, it's kind of like working out, right? We should see 5 pounds, 10 pounds off your figure. We should see some increase in ranking. We should see that they're doing the right things to grow this fake company. And so that's the biggest thing with my staff, is that it's not just, okay, we trust them, we make sure that they know what they're doing. And once they do that, then they'll come on board. So it is a very, very strict vetting process for that.
Cool. I love a good simulation.
Yes, it's
Um,
great. It's been very
yeah,
helpful.
yeah. Well, look, I mean, the legal field's considering how to do more of this too, to give people more practical assignments before bringing them on board. I did that at one point. I was interviewing for the University of California, San Diego has a very large, I should say very large, but several people in this office for the prevention of harassment and discrimination. It's a mouthful. And I was interviewing, and it was a lengthy process, but at one point I was putting a presentation together.
Yeah.
And then I gave them an asset basically. But yeah, it's important. You've got to know your people can do this. And I
Mhm.
love how you can do this with the internet because you can
Yeah.
create whatever,
Yeah.
right? And but it's really getting real data. That's such a cool opportunity that we can't
Oh, yeah.
do in most fields.
Oh, yeah.
um, okay, I just thought that was important to note about AI. We're all talking about it, trying to figure out what the heck to do with it.
Yeah.
But I love that it can be used for copywriting as
Yes.
opposed to brief writing. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not giving you advice here, people, but it's a little scary what we've been coming out of the legal field these days.
Yeah.
Um, before we close up, and I invite anyone, if you have any questions, please come off mute or pop something in the chat. But before we close up today, I would love to just hear more about you and why you do what you do, your favorite things
Yeah.
that you get to do, what's most fun for you, what do you love about your business,
Yeah.
those kind of things. Again, we're talking about relationships. People
Yeah.
want to work with people. So I think it'd be great for everybody to get to know you a little bit better too.
Yeah. So the way I got into digital marketing was my grandparents had a bike shop out in Naples, Florida, and they were spending a bunch of money. They weren't sure what they were getting in return. It was my freshman year in college. And they said, "Hey, Cooper, you want to come out for the summer and help us grow this bike shop? You know, your first phone was an iPhone. You get this online world, and we don't." I said, "Sounds great. I'll go, I'll do it." So I was going to come out anyway, but now you guys are going to pay me. So yeah, I'll be there. And so I learned everything I could, read every book I could, went out there, implemented a plan. They went from one location to three in a matter of like 3 years, right? But and then sold it off. And so when I came home from the summer, I said, "Hey, Dad, I'm getting a business degree. What better degree would it be if I try to start a business, right? Like if it doesn't work after a year, I'll go back to school." And he was like, "That sounds great, but a year and you've got to go back." And so it's like, sweet, sweet. And so I asked him, "How do you get clients?" And he's a stockbroker, he's financial advisor, and he was like, "Cold calling. You just got to cold call people." And I thought, okay, everyone would want to hear from me. Why not? It's kind of like the ignorance of not knowing that cold calling wasn't cool. And so I went online, I typed in biggest companies in Kansas City. And it's a massive developer here in Kansas City. I called him up. I asked for the CMO. And I don't know if they thought I was her kid or a nephew. I don't know, because I was 19 at the time. And I had a meeting with them, and I walked in, and it was this big oak desk, and there's like 5 or 6 executives sitting there. And like, "Well, what do you got? Like, what do you want to show us?" And I was like, "Well, what do you need help with?" And they said, well, no one's asked that question before. So we have a residential place where we're trying to sell homes. Can you help us with that? And I said, "Yep." I created a Facebook ad campaign, generated them leads, did a good job. They referred us to another developer, and we did all their apartment marketing. And those two clients right there gave us enough capital to hit the goal and then continue to grow. So in a nutshell, that's how I started Wise Guys. And the first two clients right there also loved how I was so involved. They've had, like this said, was with the first development company. They're like, "No one's asked us what we need help with. Most people just come in, pitch us, and leave. And so understanding, okay, if I come in, how can I be the most value to you? And then go from there.
Okay, I love this story. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you shared that. I think that's so important for people to know. I mean, one, quick success.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to, as a business owner, it speaks to drive
Yeah.
and perseverance. And I'm not going to take no for an answer, confidence,
Yeah.
all of those things that are necessary to really like get that business off the ground and
Yeah.
keep going and growing. And also just being open.
Yeah.
Like, well, this
I
is
didn't really
kind
have
of
anything to pitch, I was like, yeah, whatever.
this is kind of random, but
Yeah.
shit, let's
And
give
if
it
I
a
would have known
try.
cold calling wasn't cool, I might have, so it's kind of just like not really knowing and just having the confidence to go in there, just if it didn't work, oh well. And if it did, awesome. So
Yes, beautiful. I mean, that's this idea with self-mastery, right? We want to try things and learn from, if we fail, great. We learn something.
yeah,
That doesn't work, on to the next.
yeah,
And also, I feel like with marketing, from my perspective at least, it's been a lot of trial and error,
yeah,
right? And like you were mentioning all of the things earlier, we've got digital marketing, offline, local community involvement. And usually it's a mixture
yeah,
of those things. And, when I try to do my assessment of what's working best, it's often a mixture.
yes,
I have been on a lot of podcasts and very little business has come from it. But one time I got one of my favorite clients from a podcast episode
exactly.
and I like talking. So why not?
Yeah,
Right. Or one of my best contacts, who's made a lot of connections for me, is he was my son's baseball coach, and we are just schmoozing it up and
yeah,
became friends. And 2 years later, some people he introduced me to turned into really big clients. So um, I just think that that's important, to be open and interesting and
yeah.
engaging. Um, tell us tell us a little bit more about what you enjoy most, because I think you do several things, especially as a business owner and doing the work. What's your favorite stuff to do
In terms of like digital marketing,
with your career or work in general? Like, what lights you up? What are you most excited about?
I think what makes me the most excited is like we just got a review from a lawyer that like there's like up 40% in their slow season. I think that that's kind of what lights me up is being able to know that I helped someone grow their law firm or grow their company. I think that's what really inspires me to keep going, and then really what lights me up is the result that people get. And because when you grow your business or law firm, it's life changing. And so I think that when we do a good job, I don't think of it as, oh, we're providing digital marketing to people. I'm thinking of it as we've got the chance to change someone's life. And if we can do it, that is a huge feat. And so kind of having is kind of like the what's my why versus what I do, what is the how, right? And so my why is and whenever a client comes on, we've got the opportunity to change their life forever, and not only theirs but their families as well. So that's what gets me up in the morning, to say I've got an opportunity to really help someone in their business and their whole family. So
Oh my gosh, I'm not even asking you coaching questions and
yeah,
you're going there. That was
yeah,
so beautiful. Well, and
yeah,
you're so funny. You're like, yeah, we're helping their family too. And they're a freaking lawyer. So all their
yeah,
clients, right? Like, think
exactly,
about
yeah,
that. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly,
gosh, whatever they're doing, they're helping so many people. So this huge trickle down
yes,
effect. And also, their team and staff. I mean, I think about that too, in whether it's a small office, medium, large. If you're able to simplify things, I'm just thinking, gosh, that might be helping the relationship between someone who's supervising someone who's supposed to be getting something done, or maybe someone's super stressed out because they can't figure this piece out, and it relieves that, opens up space in the team. That could shift the whole energy in the room.